Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get-together live here on Facebook every morning of the week, 7 days a week, where we take a look at comments, headlines, questions, ideas, suggestions, craziness that helps us have a great live here in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, as a community of English-speaking locals. It is always a pleasure to be here, and it is always a pleasure to welcome friends to the cluster, particularly new friends. If you are new to these broadcasts, please let us know by writing your name. And no, you don't write your name because we already know your name. Writing the word new in your comment so that we can give you a proper welcome. And also, if you have something really important that you wish to discuss or bring up during the broadcast, it helps a great deal if you add the letter Q to your question or comment. Today is Saturday, March 20. It's a beautiful day, and we're a little light on the news, but there's important news to share with you today, and a nice pleasant surprise about a good friend from the cluster. And today, I'm also going to share a little bit more about Rincón de la Ceiba, this beautiful hotel where I got away to for a couple of days. I showed you a video, but I shot the video 10 years ago. And as I told you during the video, nothing has changed all that much. But still, I thought I'd give you an up-close and more personal look at the property should you wish to go and spend some time there. But we'll get to that in a second. First, let us take a quick look as to who is in the house. As always, it's great to say hello to a few friends. El Centro is in the house. Good morning, Jill. It's great to see you. Sherry, it's great to see you. And Michael, I'm starting to go through Thai withdrawal, so I hope I will run into you sometime in the near future. Jesse, always a pleasure to see you here. And Mushi is here as well. I know that Mushi has just moved in, and I'm going to keep poking at you, Mushi, because I want to make sure that you guys are doing okay and enjoying your new home here in Puerto Vallarta. Westminster, BC is in the house, and I totally said that horribly. Westminster, I suppose. Let's see. Oh, speaking of Michael, another excellent dinner with friends at Siam last night. That is absolutely fantastic. Let's see. Veronica's in the house from sunny Toronto. Great to see you. Kelly, I keep thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. I actually realized that I needed a case for that beautiful gift you shared with me last time you were here, and I have crocheted a case for the beautiful gift. You should know that it is nicely protected now. John Russell asks, any news on the second jab? I know that if we had any news, you'd be the first to know. Let's see what else we have. Ooh, Fluvial nearby is in the house. It's great to see you all. Let's see what else. Everybody is in good spirits. This is wonderful. Well, as long as the many of us are already here, let us get on with some news and then some show and tell, some great photographs of Rincón de la Ceiba. But first, a quick look at some news. This is good news. The Mexico President Andrés Manuel López Obrador announced yesterday that after a long negotiation that actually took place 2 months ago with the United States President Joe Biden, the U.S. will lend Mexico up to 2.7 million AstraZeneca vaccines. This because apparently the AstraZeneca vaccine has not been endorsed by the United States health authorities, and this resulted in an excess surplus of vaccines north of the border. Good for us. So this is going to continue to help in our vaccination strategy. I also have this bit of news. The state of Jalisco's health board has announced that they are keeping a close eye on Puerto Vallarta during Semana Santa due to a concern that the number of COVID-19 cases could spike after the holiday period. To that effect, the health board will work alongside our municipality to ensure that restaurants and nightlife venues will close their doors at 11 p.m. as indicated by state authorities, and that no massive events or parties are taking place. If you're wondering why I chopped the head of this nice man in the photograph, I didn't. This is the way the photo was published. But please know that if you were working for me and you had published this on my website, I would have cringed at least a little bit. Let's see what else we have. Yesterday, we talked about the inspection filters that the state of Nayarit will install along their highways to prevent people from accessing if they don't have proof of reservation during Semana Santa. The state of Jalisco, along with our municipality, will follow suit with inspection points in the 3 access points to Puerto Vallarta. No, I am not saying that you have to have a reservation to enter Puerto Vallarta. That's not what I said. I just want to make clear that when I say they're following suit, it only means that we're going to have our own inspection points as well. What are they going to be looking for? Beats me. But we will have 3 access points to Puerto Vallarta with inspections, the beaches, and the Malecon as well, to ensure that visitors during the Semana Santa and Semana Pascua period are following the sanitary guidelines that we've set in place. And one more bit of news before we fold over to the weather and your comments. In case you're wondering, there is still no immediate date in which the cruise line industry will resume their trips along Mexico's Pacific Riviera. The latest information provided by the Mexican Cruise Association indicates that while Mexico seems to be ready to welcome the ships, lines like Princess, Holland America, and Carnival continue to wait for the United States health authorities to determine when the industry can restart, and they're presently looking at August or September as a possibility. This actually left me wondering this morning, well, what about those cruises to the Islas Marias, which the government of Mexico have just announced that the Islas Marias are going to be open during the summer months. And I did some searches in Google in Spanish, and I still don't see anything published. Chances are that the first cruises, day cruises to Las Islas Marias will start in the city of Mazatlan, which is the largest and closest port, and we'll see when that takes place. Let me take a quick look at some of your comments, and let's see what we have here. Linda was visiting with a friend in Phoenix, but now is back in chilly Seattle. It's great to see you. Let's see what else. Jeannie says, I have been enjoying the walking tours on YouTube. So great to watch on TV instead of a smartphone, isn't it? I am so glad that you're doing that, Jeannie, and we will continue uploading all the walking tours and also the Music Mondays and pretty soon the Taco Tuesdays, so that you can enjoy them on separately from the daily broadcasts. Charlie asks, do I know when the second shots will be given out? Thank you. Thank you, Charlie, for asking. We don't have any dates just yet. Nothing has been announced. Oh, my goodness. Sherry is coming back to Puerto Vallarta. Bitching. That's awesome. Did I just say bitching? And it's Saturday. I love it. It is wonderful that you're coming back, Sherry. We look forward to seeing you when you come back in December. Let's see what else. Kelly comments on the case. Okay, I'll be totally upfront. I will disclose. Kelly brought me a beautiful pipe from the United States, a steamroller pipe to smoke. Well, you know what I smoke. To smoke beautifully, and I called the pipe Emilia. In honor of Emily Post, because Emily Post is the queen of good manners, I suppose. But Emilia is made of glass, so I needed to crochet something to protect it. So I made a case that looks like a, well, it looks like a dildo. You'll just have to see it. Maybe I'll show it tomorrow on Sunday Funday. Let's see what else we have. Dee da dee da da. Boom, bada bam 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 bam. More news about shots. That's great to hear. I am still waiting for our generation, the 50 to 60. All 19s should be removed from all months for those of us in Ciudad de Mexico. Okay. I'm not entirely sure that I'm following Matthew, but if you think this is what we should do, I'm all up for it. Let's see what else we have. Christina says, we were just notified that our September 26th Trans-Canal Celebrity Cruise from Los Angeles to Fort Lauderdale with stops in Cabo and Puerto Vallarta has been canceled. That is unfortunate. Again, it is one of those things. You know, the authorities keep waiting for things to get better, and hopefully this industry will resume its course, no pun intended, sometime in the near future. We have great friends that work in the cruise industry, and I feel for them. And hopefully this will happen. Anyhow, let me fold over to the weather and we can take it from there. Temperature in Puerto Vallarta is 28 degrees, feels like 27 because humidity is a low 25% right now. Talk about that. How about that? It's 83 degrees Fahrenheit. And what kind of weather can we expect today? Well, we can expect a clear day through the day with a high temperature of 32 and low temperature 18. Tomorrow, Sunday, we can expect a clear day through the day, high temperature of 31, low temperature 18. And Monday, we can expect another clear day, high temperature of 32, low temperature 18. And that's what we have on schedule for the weather. This looks good. Let me take a quick look at, So there was a quake in Mexico City, a 5.9. That's not so bad. It's not great, but it's not so bad. I hope nobody was injured. Certainly, I hope, Matthew, you were not injured. I remember living in Mexico City, and quakes were so common that, you know, you kind of got used to the shake and bake. But now when we have them here in Puerto Vallarta, I get startled every now and then. Let me see. What do we have now? We have a bit of good news for a friend of our cluster. This would be our friend Noy. And let me tell you that, of course, we know Noy because she, for many years, infused her Thai roots in the cuisine at the popular Daiquiri Dick's restaurant here in Puerto Vallarta, and she has been keeping an eye on our cluster from time to time, visiting us whenever she can. Of course, the time, she lives in Bangkok, so the time change is tremendous. It's very late right now over there. She's presently working from Thailand, where she conducts food market and cooking tours and keeping busy offering Thai cooking classes online. She was recently featured on an article showcasing people from all over the world that are presently working from home, and I'll gladly share the link to the published article in the show notes. She is a dear friend of mine and a dear friend of our cluster, and you should get to know her. Let's see. Lynn says, is it acceptable to refer to Cinco de Diciembre as Cinco de? Well, if you ask me, Lynn, it is not acceptable, and it is just plain lazy. That's just my personal opinion. I don't see this obsession that some people have to change the name of things. But that's just me. You can do whatever you want. If I ever tell news about Cinco de Diciembre, I will always call it Cinco de Diciembre, just like if I tell news about the city, San Francisco, California, I will not call it San Fran or some other aberration. But again, that's just me. Just me. You can do whatever you want. It's a free world, and I'm sure you pay your taxes. Now, oh dear God, Jorge, seriously, you're just making things worse. I love it. Anyhow, no, you can do whatever you want, but I will be a prude, and I will call things by what they're called, or at least I'll try to. Anyhow, pay no attention to the announcer. Let me show you now a little bit of show and tell, because I wanted to tell you a bit more about Cajon de Peña. There was a fair amount of interest yesterday in the trip I took in this beautiful hotel called Rincón de la Ceiba, which is where I visited 10 years ago now for the first time, and I fell in love with the place. And I think seems to me that it is one of the few ideal pandemic destinations here in near Puerto Vallarta. So let me show you a little bit of what I have. But before we actually get to Rincón de la Ceiba and Cajón de Peña, I should comment that our driver was so kind enough to make a stop somewhere on the highway between Boca de Tomatlan and the Botanical Gardens. And he just pulled over from the highway, and there's one of those little tombstones that are randomly placed along the highway, probably because somebody must have died there. And if you just get off the vehicle and walk 5 feet, you are treated to this spectacular highway on this spectacular waterfall on the Orcones River. Take a look. Pretty large and pretty unexpected. I'm sure there's a way to get closer to it if you hike down the road. But I was pleasantly surprised to discover something that I had never seen that is so easy to take a look at. If I find a way to pinpoint it on a map, or next time I'm driving south, I will take a photograph of the exact spot so you can see where that is. But moving right along, Cajon de Peña, I want to tell you a little bit. There it is, and this is the largest body of water in the state of Jalisco. Here's Highway 200 south, heading to Costa Alegre. That's the same highway that you take to go to the Botanical Gardens. You just keep going. You pass Tuito, which is the head of the municipality of Cabo Corrientes, which is a municipality south of Puerto Vallarta. And eventually you get to this little detour here, and you take a left, and you come along this road, and you end up arriving at the Cajón de Peña Dam. Now, if I was to zoom into this map, you will find that there is absolutely no civilization surrounding the dam other than the itty-bitty, teensy-wincy town of Cajón de Peña, which is right here. The dam is several kilometers long. It's a beautiful place. I've explored all the way to the other end on a motorboat, and to go to where the river starts. And it has all these beautiful little islands all over the dam, which you can actually explore, and you can actually camp in if you wanted to, if you're into the rustic kind of thing. But back to this entrance, you arrive at the dam here, and you're going along the road that is next to the dam, and before you know it, you could almost miss an itty-bitty left-hand turn, which goes into the town. And there's a sign on the road that says Rincón de la Ceiba. That's the sign that you have to be looking for once you get there, because you could easily pass it. And once you take that left turn, you find that this is like Main Street, Cajón de Peña. That's all there is. There's a church, there's a children's school, there are a couple of restaurants, and there is a convenience store that doubles as a gas station. Well, not even a gas station. They just have gas in buckets, and they make it available to you. And of course, at the end of the street, you find this wonderful second-story restaurant, Restaurante Conchita, which was on the second story. I said that twice. I need more coffee. And here, the food that you enjoy is the fish and the langostinos from the lake itself. And it is beautifully prepared. It is all very fresh and delicious. And it seemed to be like the only place in town that had an itty bitty bit of 3G Wi-Fi, and you had to be sitting on a very specific corner of the restaurant. So in the group that I was in, there were a couple of people that either due to habit or commitment, they were going through internet withdrawal. So they would sneak out to the restaurant and have a michelada and just connect. But even before you get that far, if you see that gray car on the lower left-hand side, you need to take a turn before before the car. Toward the left, you can see the little sign up here on that tree that says Rincón de la Ceiba. And all of a sudden, you think that you're going through some little town alleyway from hell, chicken and hen and dogs blocking the way, and you think, I've been duped. This is just a bunch of shacks. I don't see a nice hotel. And then all of a sudden, there it is. There is the entrance to Rincón de la Ceiba, right after that narrow alleyway. And once you enter, there it is. You have the casitas on the left-hand side over here. You have a main dining area or restaurant where they prepare breakfast and dinner for you, or you can go and enjoy the restaurant in town. But while we were there, we had breakfast prepared, very basic but very fulfilling. The same thing with dinner. Through the day, the caretaker surprised us with chopped fruit or agua de frutas to keep us refreshed. And let's see what else we have. Okay, so this is a look at the casitas themselves. There's a total of 8 little casitas. The casitas have different configurations. Some have 2 twin beds. Others have a king-size bed. Others have for more people or less people. They all have their own bathroom. They all have their little mini porch up front. And I'm seeing that you have all kinds of questions. I'll get to those in a second. So that's where the casitas are. There's also hot water, not as much as you'd like, but there is hot water if you wish to enjoy it. And then moving right along, there's a bunch of different sitting areas. This is the yard in front of the property, and you can see the lake is right there. Notice that this part of the garden where I'm pointing, that's the lower part of the garden. And when the dam is full during the rain season, the water can come as high as to cover this lower part of the garden. And this will make more sense as I show you some other photos of the property. This is a closer look at that front sitting area. This is the ceiba. This is the mother tree of the property. It's a beautiful, gorgeous, enormous tree that seems to just protect the entire property. And it was just beautiful. The weather was gorgeous during the daytime. The skies were starry every single night. We could even see satellites go by. Well, I pretended. I couldn't see anything because I was stoned. But that's just me. Let's see, more sitting areas right over here. There's a place to do a bonfire, and then there's this other sitting area over there. And this is right at the property line looking out to the actual dam. As you can see, the water level is very low right now because it hasn't rained. But right in front of it, there's that little island. I remember paddleboarding around that little island with my dear friend Jerry Grant several years ago. And the hotel does have these little pedal boats that you can take around if you want to. And let's see what else we have. This is looking from the property to the right. As you can see, the dam just goes on forever. You can explore it by motorboat if you want to rent one. And the dam curtain is actually around the corner going into this general direction. Let's see, what else do we have? This is looking back at the property from the water edge. So you can see when the water rises, it rises quite a bit. And again, it enters the property literally. And what else do we have? This is another look of the restaurant now from the gate entrance. This is the restaurant hangout. And what else do we have? This is one of those other little sitting areas where you can enjoy. So we were fortunate enough that there were enough of us in the group that we took over the entire property. And if you ask me, that is probably the best way to do it, in my opinion. But if you happen to go by yourself or in a small group and there happen to be other people in the property that you may or may not have wanted to hang out with and socialize with, there's plenty of room for everybody. And then there's the bonfire. We had marshmallows at night, and the bonfire was a lot of fun. And I think, oh, there's one more. Of course, the hammock. There was this glorious hammock where you could nap and hang out and enjoy yourselves. So I think, yes, that's pretty much what we have for Cajon de Peña. And again, it met all the criteria for what I feel I need as a getaway during the pandemic. Very few people, very little to do, very low density, very safe, and very fun. Let me take a quick look at some of your comments and questions so that we can be on the same page. Let's see. Jeffrey's coming into town. Hooray! I hope you don't get rescheduled this one time. Let's see what else. Huh! They'll call 5D Boobs Central. Seriously, you guys. Let's see what else we see. This is wonderful. My kind of place. Awesome. Stephanie says, I want to go. You know, it is absolutely wonderful. Is it good for a day trip? That's a really good question. If you were to leave very early, you could come back the same day if you wanted to. But honestly, I would go overnight at the very least. I would go overnight. Let's see. Let's see what else. Another question. Being so close to the lake, are the insects bad? Oh my God. Well, it really depends. This particular trip, I was very fortunate. I did not get bitten. But then again, it was not the rainy season. I was fine. I found myself surprised. I have swum in that lake several times, just about every time I've been down there, and I've been down there 6 or 7 times. In this particular trip, the little fishies on the lake seemed to be a little bit more forward than usual. One of them grabbed one of my titties while I was swimming. Nothing major, but it catches you by surprise because, I mean, you're floating and talking to your friends, and all of a sudden you feel a little pinch in the tit, and it's kind of like, whoa, you know, where did that come from? So there was a little bit of fish nibbling, but it didn't bother me. I mean, if that kind of thing bothers you, then you probably shouldn't be swimming in the lake. Dave says, and this is true, if you go on the lake when the water is low, you can see the houses on bottom when it was made and flooded. Absolutely true. A whole town needed to be relocated. Let's see what else. The tree is amazing. It is spectacular in person, Lynn. It is just a beautiful, beautiful tree. Jeannie says, what a gem for a getaway. Absolutely. And I should say there are other small hotels in the vicinity where you can probably stay as well. I have been friends with the family and with the owners for a decade, so I am very happy to go back to this. Reservations, how far in advance, please? Well, it really depends on when you're going. Like, for example, I wanted to go right before Semana Santa just because I knew that Semana Santa is probably going to get a little crowded there. But I don't think you need to reserve for, more than 1 or 2 weeks in advance. It also has to do with whether you're going on weekdays or weekends. Weekends tend to be more busy just because there are more people that have the days off. But there you have it. Might the trip take less than 2 hours from PP if you first take a water taxi to Boca de Tomatlan? The challenge, Matthew, is once you get to Boca, how are you going to get there? I actually don't think the trip would take less time. In fact, I think it would be a little bit more complicated because whatever luggage you're bringing with you, you have to get it on and off the boat and so forth and so on. So I honestly think it's just easier to negotiate the trip directly from Puerto Vallarta. And again, if you don't have a vehicle, if there are enough people in your party, you can find a van and pretty much bring down the transportation costs to something that is very, very reasonable. Let's see. That hammock has my name reserved. I love it. Do they take pets? They do not take pets, not at this time. Let's see what else. Love starfruit. There was so much of it, it's not even funny. Let's see. Milking Paco. Well, it sure felt like that, Dave, although there was nothing squirting out of there. Too funny. Claudia laughs at my fishies. Fishies and titties. Well, yeah, they're fishies because they were little fish. I didn't want you to think that was like some monster bass or lobina or something like that. No, they were teeny weeny fishies. Let's see what else we have. What's the water temperature like? Oh my God, it was heavenly this time of year. And it probably gets warmer. You know, if we had gone closer to winter, it might not have been swimmable. But as we get ready for spring, the temperature was just delicious during the daytime. Even after going out for a walk or a hike, and then you come back and you want to refresh yourself, or just jumping in the water was delicious. And I can only imagine that it gets better during the summertime. Going in the summertime is a lot of fun as well because it rains. And when it rains, there's a lot of organic debris that comes down from the river. So you find all kinds of seeds and driftwood and wonderful treasures to bring back home. Let's see. Will you write out the name of the place? Well, Susie, if you check out the show notes from yesterday, I put out all the information, not only of the hotel, but also of the person that drove us there. So keep that in mind. How many rooms does it hold? It has a total of 8 cabañas, 7 of which are suitable for couples or maybe groups of 3, and one is a lot larger. It has like 2 little rooms within the cabaña. How long of a drive? A little bit more than 2 hours. But for example, we left early in the morning the day we left because we knew we wanted to stop by in El Tuito for breakfast. So we left at around 9:30. We arrived in El Tuito an hour later. We stopped for an hour to have breakfast. And then the second leg of the trip was about another hour. Where do we book the hotel? In the hotel website, which I shared yesterday, along with the Facebook page for the hotel. Can I share average cost? Absolutely. Again, transportation was 500 pesos round trip. The rooms were everything from 600 a night to 1,200 a night, and the prices are listed on the website. And then for food, the food at the restaurant was extremely, extremely reasonable. I don't think I spent more than 3,000 pesos for the whole adventure. Michael asks, who did I share my room with? Myself, and I was happy that way. And this pretty much brings us to the whole Rincón de la Ceiba experience. I may turn these photographs into a small slideshow so we can keep them as a reference, but I highly, highly recommend this getaway, particularly this time of year when it's starting to get warm. If you're still feeling a little bit uneasy about traveling to a larger place, a larger city, and you want to get for a couple of days, I will say that question, name of the turnoff from Highway 200. The name of the turnoff says Cajon de Peña, and you can follow it very clearly on your Google map if you have a phone that has Google Maps. installed in it. So again, this is a great getaway to consider this time of year if you want to get away for a night, although I would say that 2 nights is probably better because you get there, even if you leave early from Puerto Vallarta, you get there around 12 or 1. So all of a sudden, the first half of your day is over. And the next day, you'd have to come back at about that time, or you'd want to come back at about that time. So 2 nights was just absolutely perfect. And that brings us pretty much to the end of today's Coffee and Headlines. As always, it is a pleasure to see you here. If you find information that is useful, informative, or at least amusing, it is always a pleasure to connect with you. There you go. There is all the information from yesterday's show notes. Thank you very much, Jorge, for cutting and pasting that. And let's see what else. Tomorrow is Sunday Fun Day, and tomorrow is the beginning of spring. So what are we going to talk about? Spring music and other springy thoughts that come to mind. So hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for Sunday Fun Day when we discuss absolutely no hard news, no soft news either. Just no bad news. And if we don't see you tomorrow, hopefully we'll see you sometime in the near future. Between now and then, stay happy, make plans that make you happy, and stay in touch. Have a great day.